All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Former 168-pound champion Caleb Plant coming right back with a very tough test against Anthony Dirrell, October 15th, Saturday night. Caleb, thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate it. Look, in following your career, I can't help but think about how far you have come from that night in Los Angeles when you stepped into the ring against Uzcategui and won that title, and where you stand now in your life. I mean, it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of finding happiness in your life. What can you say about this journey that you have been on to now?
I mean, it's definitely been a long journey, and it's taken a lot to get to this point. I put a lot into my craft since I was a child, and regardless of whatever's come up or slipped up or whatever's happened in my life, just keeping that determination that no matter what, I'm gonna keep stepping forward. I'm gonna keep moving forward, and I'm gonna accomplish what I want to accomplish in life. And regardless of where you're from or who you are, what you look like, that's true for anyone else. That if you have a goal, if you have a dream, that if you just continue to put one foot in front of the other, eventually you'll look up. You'll be where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thinking about you, it's like, yes, I mean, we appreciate you as a fighter, and your fights will, have allowed you to reach this point. But I think it is your story that resonates more than anything else, because easily someone like you could have, said, "Hey, this is too much. I've got to like take a step back and, you know, take account of things, and or maybe even give up." But you haven't, and now you're here. I just wonder what it's like for you to now be fighting for your beautiful family and be able to, think about celebrating with them, and what a joyous occasion that would be.
Yeah, right now I got a task in front of me, and I'm in killer mode right now. That I'm in my heyday right now, so I'm fully focused on October 15th. But I'm looking forward to after this fight being able to kick my feet up through the holiday season with Charlie, with Jordan, and it's not too many holiday seasons that I have off. So this timing is almost perfect to where right after I'm gonna be able to enjoy those moments fully with them. And so right now I'm keeping my priorities straight with the task at hand, and we'll get to that afterwards. But I'm excited.
Can you talk to, I think it would be have been not easy maybe, but excusable, coming off, a loss to Canelo and feeling like, okay, maybe I need to, have an easier task at hand than Anthony Dirrell yet in this moment. Yet you went right after Dirrell. Talk about that decision and how you came to terms with it. Is it because I would imagine once you become a champion, you have a champion's heart?
I mean, I became a long. I was a champion long before I got that title strapped around my waist. You know, you don't. I just had the opportunity there, but I've been a champion since I was a kid. Had a champion's heart since I was a kid, and that's why I was able to persevere through those moments that we've talked about. And but coming off the Canelo loss, like you said, I could have picked like a sparring session of a match, especially with the time that's been from since the Canelo fight. But I want to step right back, with the biggest opponent that I could possibly get, coming off a loss that may not be the biggest fight that can be made. Because when you lose, sometimes you take couple steps back and you got to work your way back. And I'm completely fine with that. I don't make excuses. And so, Anthony Dirrell being a two-time former world champion and with the name he has, I wanted to step right into that fight so I could carry that momentum that I had through the Canelo fight. Even though I lost all the success that I had and as good as I was doing up until that moment, I want to carry that momentum forward in my career, be the former two-time world champ, and then move on to whatever's next.
Yeah, I mean, was the Canelo loss a step back in your mind by any measure?
Um, I come to win and I lost. So, you know, for people who felt like I may have just been showing up for a check or just showing up to be able to be part of the moment, that you can look back on that performance and see that that's not why I was there. I was there to win, and I didn't do that, and so I was disappointed in that because I'm winning, and but you can't just sit around and complain and cry over spilled milk. So got right back to work, and like I said, looking to move forward with the biggest fight that could be made, being Anthony Dirrell. And then after that, continue to move forward with bigger fights.
I wanted to ask you something about Dirrell, but real quick while you're on that topic, I mean, I think a case can be made easily, Caleb, and I'm not just saying this because you're right in front of me. Of all of Canelo's 168-pound title fights, you know, I think that have given him his toughest fight yet out of all those guys that he's fought, including the Golovkin fight we just saw.
Yeah, absolutely, hands down. I mean, I'm sure you and millions other would say the same thing. That I felt like the performance I put on and the success that I had was by far more than the amount of success that any of the rest of them had. But I'm not here to brag over who lost best. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's not how I approach the sport. That's not how I approach life. And so, like I said, disappointed with that, but I put that behind me, and I'm looking to move forward and get back to my winning ways.
There was a little moment of acknowledgement where you guys had a little conversation in the ring, and he acknowledged you as, being a very formidable opponent. Did that mean something to you, given that, I mean, honestly, I think that we'd all agree that Canelo right now is kind of the fighter of the generation, that he said that to you while you guys were fighting?
Well, I wasn't really looking for his approval, and I feel like a lot of people misconstrued that. I wasn't really asking him if I was good, because I know that I'm good.
Yeah.
So because I looked over after the first couple rounds and he was standing up through the rest, and in my head I'm like, oh, he thinks like he's gonna do the same thing to me that he did to Chavez Jr. Like, then a couple rounds later, I look over, he's sitting on the stool, and if you're not going to take the stool, then you got to do that rounds 1 through 12. You can't not take the stool, and then couple rounds later start taking it. You're letting me know that I'm having success. And so when I asked him, it wasn't because I needed to know. I already knew. That's why he started sitting down through the rest. And so when I'm asking him, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good, huh? I'm pretty good, huh? So it wasn't a real question because I already knew the answer. And he said, yeah, you're pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I know you're pretty good too. But, I wasn't really asking him. I didn't need his approval if I was good or not. That was me really being sarcastic. I know I'm good. That's why I'm able to do these things that I was doing in the fight.
Good stuff. Thanks for clearing it up. Talk about Dirrell. I mean, Dirrell is like we say, we know his nickname, the dog, and he does come to fight. He's a gritty type of tough guy in there. What do you like about the matchup in your favor, though?
Well, as far as being tough, he may be tough, but tough ain't enough because we're all tough. That's why we're boxers. So it takes a lot more than being tough to, especially be somebody like me. So I really don't have much to say about him. I just feel like that I'm going to be way too much for him in basically every department, and that I'm going to be putting on a show and winning in fashion come October 15th.
A boxing class?
I mean, we're going to be teaching every subject that night. So,
yeah, I'll get to what you think you can do with the victory, but I mean, let me ask you this because you're dealing with it, and you're here. You hear a lot of people saying things about fighters and their money these days, especially as we're talking about like Spence and Crawford and everything like that. And money, let's be honest. I mean, it is an issue with you too. You're coming off the heels of your greatest purse yet. Is it difficult at all once you receive that kind of money to have the same kind of hunger for the next fight? I mean, is there a feeling of I've made it, I'm content now at all that creeps in on you once you receive those types of checks?
Well, not for me personally, but just in general, I think it just depends on what you're in boxing for. And really professional sports in general, I feel like a lot of athletes, they get into sports in hopes that they'll be a professional one day so that they can make it out of poverty, so that they can have the things that they were deprived of as a child. But when you do it for the money, or you do it to be famous, or, things of that manner, well, what happens once you become those things? What happens once you obtain that money? Well, now the reason that you did it for, you no longer have that hunger. It's hard to be motivated when you're doing it for money and then you get a bunch of money. But for me, I'm not going to say that I will box for free because I could just stay amateur. So I did want those things. I'm into classic cars. I want a nice house for my family. I want to be able to provide. But that's not my reason why. That's not why I box. That's not why I fight. I have a lot of love for this sport. I've loved this sport with all my heart ever since I was a kid. And I don't box to be famous. I don't care about being famous. I don't box. This house is lovely. You know what I'm saying? I love this house. Yeah. I love things that I have, but that's not why I box. And I try to keep it priority is the priority, and that is for the love of the game and to be, you know, to be solidified as one of the best in my generation and to go down as an all-time great, and for it to be written in stone where it can't be erased. And that has nothing to do with material things. So regardless of what I obtain, you know, material-wise, that doesn't change my hunger or my discipline or what I want to accomplish in the sport.
Very well said. Obviously now, you know, your fight as the co-main to Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius heavyweights is going to be fought in the fall. And then I think right by the end of the year, we're going to see another super middleweight, David Benavidez, probably get in the ring too. And so the calendar kind of lines up if both of you guys get victories to maybe fight in 2023. Is that a fight that you're angling for, or what would you be angling for in victory?
Yeah, you know, right now I'm just focused on the fight in front of me. I feel like so many times, even the name you mentioned, they get so focused on who is next, and then they don't even handle business or they don't make weight, or, you know, they test positive for this or that, and then they never even get to the fight. So I think the main objective is to always just stay focused on the task at hand. And I wanted the biggest fight that could possibly be made. After this fight, moving forward, I want the biggest fight that can possibly be made. And whoever that is, you can bring them on, you can line them up, and I'm going to continue to knock them down until I get that rematch with Canelo.
Very well said, Caleb. And I know the boxing fans love to hear that. I just, on the heels of that answer, I wanted to ask you your thoughts. What is your thoughts as a fighter when you look at the delays and the Spence Crawford negotiations? What do you make of that?
Oh, you cut out. Say again.
What do you, as a fighter, after you said that, I just wanted to ask you, you know, with the delays going on with Spence Crawford, what do you make of that? I mean, I know you're not involved in the negotiations, and sometimes the negotiations are tricky, but as fight fans, we really want to see, you know, the best fighting the best. The fact that there's delays and interruptions to that fight, does that bother you? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean that don't bother me. You know, I don't know enough about the situation to speak on it. You know, I try to really make sure that I don't speak on things I don't know much about, because at that point it's just my opinion. And, you know, what does my opinion mean when it comes to something I don't know much about? So I'm sure that fight will get made. I know both fighters want to fight each other. And, you know, just because something doesn't happen right away doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. So I'm sure they'll get to it. You know, Alan Heyman, with everything that he's done for boxing and in boxing, all the great fights that he's made, and you know, all the, you know, the pathways that he's created for all these fighters. I mean, he's one of a kind. And so you know, I have no doubt that him, along with Errol and Bud, and then, you know, that they'll be able to make it happen, and I got faith in that. And, you know, I'm not going to get all sad just because maybe things broke off for a second. Both fighters want to fight, and I'm sure we'll see that fight.
Right. I mean, if Canelo does hold on to these belts, and look, we know it's going to be challenging for him to hang on to all four belts with all the mandatories and everything like that. And I'm sure you can sneak in there and maybe get another crack at him at some point. But if that didn't happen, would you be able to? What would be your most comfortable move, to 160 or to 175, to try to stand as a champion again?
I mean, I don't know. I feel comfortable at super middleweight. I know I'm going to have a shot again to become world champion, undisputed. So right now, I'm a super middleweight. That's where I plan on staying. And there's plenty of, you know, plenty of things to do here. So I'm focused on October 15th, plan on handling business. I will handle business in fashion. And then, you know, I'll get to the future in the future.
Yeah, and have you looked at the main event on your card, Wilder versus Helenius? Again, you talk about a guy who's, you know, just went through the ringer in the last fight, and now he comes back against a tough opponent. That's Deontay Wilder doing it here.
Yeah, I mean, I got all the faith in the world, and Deontay, you know, it's great to have him back in the ring. Definitely excited about being on the card with him. You know, that's my country boy from Alabama, right down the street from Tennessee. So I've always been a supporter of Deontay. You know, he's been a supporter of mine for a long time, and I'm looking forward to him getting there, handling business on October 15th. And, you know, I feel like he's going to knock him out. And I'm in full support of that.
Great. Caleb Plant, thank you so much for your time today. Always generous, and we appreciate it. Again, tune in Saturday, Showtime pay-per-view, Caleb Plant versus Anthony Dirrell, super middleweights. Caleb, again, have a great weekend, and we will be watching you next Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.